Welcome to the Good Karma Sportfishing Podcast. I'm your host, Captain Ryan Van Fleet.
And welcome to the Crush It in Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Melinda Van Fleet.
So I've been talking about doing some interviews for quite some time now, and we did it.
Yes, this is Ryan's first interview, and this has definitely been a lot of discussion. So we are super excited today to have Carolyn Stash, who is the president of AtlasTrax, on our podcast. And Ryan has a lot of experience working with her, great experience, and he uses the product. And I have been a bystander, really watching and learning and hearing all her great stories about how she has built this business from the ground up. So I thought that this would be a great guest to have on my podcast as well.
Okay, so we're going to be doing some interviews this month. And if you'd like to be on the Good Karma Sportfishing Podcast, give me a shout at goodkarmaryan@gmail.com. And stay tuned to the end of the podcast because we'll have a special promotion for AtlasTrax. So here we go with the interview, guys. Hey, I'd like to welcome my first guest on the Good Karma Sportfishing Podcast. I have Carolyn Stash with AtlasTrax, the best boat tracker. It's just a kick-ass product. So welcome, Carolyn.
Well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I see you out there doing what you do, getting out there and taking people for charters. And it's a great thing that you do. And I'm glad to be on the show with y'all.
Very cool. Awesome. Very cool. So how I found you is it's a little, I don't think I've ever told you the story, but I wanted an AtlasTrax years ago, like when it kind of first came out. But at that point in time, I just was like, for some reason, I just didn't do it. So, and then I started like doing a lot of research on the product, and I started seeing how it tracked, and then I was just like, I saw other uses for it other than a security system. So what happened was I was robbed. I was
funny, but not funny.
Yeah, not funny, but I was then I became a victim. Okay. And that's when things started to hit me in the head. Like, okay, I've got to start seriously looking at something like this. And through word of mouth, through the Kingfish circuit, my friend Alfredo, he started using your product, and I gave him a call and I asked him, is it, because there was a lot of hype around it. And I said, is it really like that good? He said, first thing he says was, you're not going to beat the customer service. And it's kick ass. And I literally picked up the phone after that and I called, and he gave me your number. I picked up the phone after that and I bought it right away. So
those guys are a frustrated amateur fishing team. And I remember you had initially called me about 7:30 at night and were surprised when I answered the phone. And that's not only happened once with us too. I mean, you've dialed us, we pick up the phone. It's really important because you never know if that one phone call is somebody that's getting a boat or an asset stolen. So you have to be available. And our first conversation, like, can you get me out one? And I'm like, absolutely, it'll go tomorrow. So I think we got it in your hand within about 1 day of your initial phone call. And, you can tell us about the startup. The tracker's totally portable. You can tell us about how easy it was to get it going.
Yeah, it was just, everything was just, you sent me the tracker. I literally turned the toggle switch to on, and
you could see it on the computer.
I could see it on the computer right away. And I was like, that's it. And it's like,
we do everything behind the scenes to link. We send those trackers live. So when the client gets one right away, they can turn it on and be right in business, because so many of our customers can't pick up a boat or get insurance on it without a tracker. So they'll drive to my home and actually pick a tracker out of the bushes or a mailbox or somewhere just to have a tracker so they can go pick up their new toy or their new boat or run to the Bahamas, any number of stories. So it had to be easy. It had to be an easy tracker for everybody to be able to figure out how to turn it on. That was my goal.
It was so simple. Yeah. And I really enjoy the features that are there because as far as everything I use it for, I figured out another use for it, and that was with, tracking my how I fish in the Keys. So I have over a year's worth of data now that I can go back historically and watch how the boat moves with currents on certain wrecks. I can go back and look at historical wahoo trolling patterns, dolphin fishing, and you start to see the correlations. So
what's so cool about the mapping that you probably don't even know about is that you mentioned historical data. You can actually export any of those latitudes and longitudes and into an Excel format, and you can keep that for records. You can screenshot all of those maps and do overlays of last year and this year. And you can even, if you forget to mark a fish, Ryan, you can go out and click the button on the map that says latitude and longitude or measure, and those are all active buttons on the map, satellite maps. If you had to send help, you could click exactly where you need to go, or if you forgot to mark a fish, you can click exactly where that zig and zag was on your points and record that latitude and longitude and go put it in your fish finder. So, it's pretty cool stuff. And, when I started the business in 2012, I needed a tracker for a family's boat. And I couldn't find anything that was either affordable or that I liked. And I reached out to these aviation map experts that design our maps that you like so much, and said, "Look, I've got a need in the States. It's it's boating. There's nothing here that I think is good. Let me run with this. Let me design fisherman-friendly maps. Let me design things that family can find their loved ones if they're overdue and offshore. So many people with insurance requirements for theft for triple engines, but people don't realize all the other uses, like your historical data for wahoo fishing, or are the guys, they're supposed to be home at 5 o'clock. Where are they? What direction are they heading? What's their speed? Are they drifting? Are they moving a forward momentum? So all of that was why I started the company and designing the maps. And yes, walking the docks, working full time, walking the Southern Kingfish circuit at any of these tournaments. I would meet clients in a parking lot, not so smart, but in an IHOP parking lot, and handing off a envelope and getting a check, which, looked a little shady, but I was, delivering these things, and I would tell people where I was going just in case I didn't come back. And I was doing all these transactions after hours, starting this tracker business one at a time. And, it's progressed into boating. That's my hobby. We've got trackers on construction equipment. We have trackers on aircraft. Believe it or not, we're tracking about 150 icebergs right now in Greenland for currents, so they can do research on how these icebergs are floating. But it just all circles back to our local fishing community and safety and portability. And tell you, I just did a local fishing tournament in Pompano Beach, jumped on a charter boat. I took my tracker with me, just so that people could know where I was, and we could have some fun posting and saying, "Hey, this is where we are. Come find us. Get a T-shirt at the dock." So there's also fun things you can do with that people have discovered with the trackers. Come find us at the sandbar. Here's a screenshot of where we are. So it really gets people engaged in the fishing and in the boating, which is kind of what makes it fun for us to go 24/7 and be available by our phone.
When you were walking the docks and doing all that one by one, how did you eventually start to get some momentum? Because that is definitely a challenge when you're starting a new business.
That's a big challenge. And when you're talking about an item that's, $500 plus a message plan, what I started doing initially, I was giving so many of them out. I would donate them as auction items at the tournaments. I would go and volunteer my time to help them do all the setup. I would be on the grounds. I would get to know the fishermen who was coming in. Ryan, these guys, they kind of do the circuit. There's, 100 guys that keep going around. They would know me from face. I would just hand off one and say, "Try it. If you don't like it, give it back to me." And when I went to go get these trackers back, these fishing tournament guys kept saying, "No, we want to keep it." So that's how the momentum came, because they recognized that, the value of it. It's waterproof. It floats. The batteries get monitored daily. They know where their boat is every day. So, again, I almost had to start fighting to get them back. So that's how the momentum came. And when that happened, when that circuit of the Southern Kingfish guys and these other tournaments, they started liking the product more and more. Then I made it available, heavily discounted. Went from free to heavily discounted to maybe a little bit of a margin. And now we're getting orders from a lot of boat builders, huge insurance company referrals, because they know that I can get them their customer or tracker same day in most cases to secure insurance on some of these larger center consoles.
Wow. That's amazing. Now, how does it work? Is a satellite system? Can you just explain like a little bit more for maybe some of Ryan's audience that, have never thought about getting a tracker like this?
Well, here's the wonderful thing about satellite. So there's cellular trackers all over the place that people are familiar with, low jack on a vehicle, things like that. But satellite works everywhere. So if your asset's stolen and it goes anywhere, you are notified. We program the trackers to send messages every 10 minutes. So typically, if something's stolen, you can recover it well before it gets too far away from your home and well before any damage starts. So the satellite basically continually sends beacons back down to the planet, and then we disperse out the satellite location with a link to a map. And I'll tell you, there was 2 thefts. We really have had very few thefts in my history of doing this. Most of the tracking we do is for people with float plans, and I'll tell you folks about how fun that is. But we had a customer's boat stolen in 2016, a 38 Jupiter. He took it for the first trip to Bimini. And I tell people, if you get more than one message in 10 minutes, go look at your boat. He got 2 messages at 4:00 in the morning, went out to the marina, the boat is gone. He was able to self-track his own boat, called me really early in the morning. I sat in the computer, was tracking his boat. We tracked it together all the way to Freeport. It was apprehended about 72 miles later by the police as the boat was coming into an abandoned canal. The boat was recovered. Unfortunately, the 3 guys jumped off the boat and, left it hit the wall, but it still came back to the States on its own accord. If that tracker wasn't on that boat, that customer would never have found that boat. And a more recent story with why you need the satellite is another Bahama customer had his Jupiter stolen. He knew it was stolen because he got the emails in the middle of the night. We got up and we helped him track the boat. Unfortunately, in the middle of the night, the Bahamian law enforcement didn't want to or couldn't get to that boat. In the morning, we were able to help him find it, the hull, stranded on the beach. The 3 engines had been cut off, but still in the bushes. And he was able to recover the boat, the engines, and now that boat's getting repaired in Nassau. He would have never found that boat without a tracking device. So theft recovery is so important for tracking to have a tracker on board. And even the smaller center consoles now, where it's not required, look at these folks that go out and are overdue or don't come back. A very small investment for safety to be able to quickly find somebody that might be missing.
Yeah. And when you and I were talking the other day, when you said that about safety and family, I, can easily rattle off some times when I've been at home wondering where Ryan is and
yes.
Is he ever going to come back? Like, is he just out there fishing till, the sun comes up? So yeah, it is kind of that nice peace of mind to know that you can figure out where your loved ones are and keep in touch that way. So,
well, anything has happened and can happen. We've had a customer with a brand new yellowfin with triple engines, and they had some engine gas fuel issue in the middle of the Gulf Stream. They lost all their engines, and their office typically watches where the gentleman is, and they were able to see he was drifting because it didn't show that he was going forward. It didn't have a speed. There was no bearing. And he was sitting there for hours. They were able to figure that out and send help by just clicking on the little boat picture and clicking on a latitude and longitude button. So, you think you're getting some brand new boat, but sometimes things happen. And, I'll tell you another story. Look at me. I went down to Key West on somebody else's World Cat a couple weekends ago. Brought my tracker, and one of the fuel gauge senders was off, and we ran out of gas in one of the twin engines. Couldn't transfer fuel to the other engine. And thank God we got into Port Everglades. But I had my portable tracker. My parents knew where I was. My office knew where I was. And they're like, why is it taking you so long to get back into the inlet? And they could see us coming in at 8 miles an hour because we had to conserve the very little bit of fuel we had. I'm in the business. I shouldn't be running out of gas, but it happens.
Right. Definitely.
Wow.
It can happen to anybody. Any of these things can happen to anyone. So it's super nice to have the safety. So you're launching some new products as well. So do you want to fill us in on the new products as well as kind of talk about like your sales strategy? So we can learn a little bit about how you are going about launching some new products based on the success that you had with AtlasTrax.
I'd love to. These are very, very special to me. These are all products that I've kind of envisioned and that we've made them come to fruition. So typically we started with the GPS tracking line, which is great because it tells you if your boat's moving. But I look out the window at my Hydro Sport in the backyard that's got a cover on it, and I can't tell you if somebody's stealing all the electronics on the inside of it. So we came up with an awesome alarm. It gets hardwired to the boat, but it has a couple door sensors. It has a couple snap sensors. And why this is important, I'll tell you in a moment. It has a very thin 60-foot micro cable. With that cable, you can wrap through your engines. You can wrap it through all your fishing rods if you stop at a restaurant for a short time or in your backyard. You're just too tired to clean the boat up. And you can wrap it through other people's boats if you travel with them. The door sensors, very simple door sensors. If someone opens the helm or lifts your plexiglass cover for your electronics, it sets off the siren. And the snap sensors are awesome. They're so inexpensive, and you can wire it to the alarm. So if someone pops off one of your existing canvas, maybe a console cover, to peek at what you have under there, it'll set off the siren. That was so exciting for me to have that to the line. And we took it an extra step. If you buy an alarm and you now buy a tracker, Ryan, that tracker will be able to be smart enough to tell you by email or text if someone's opened your door or unhooked your boat. Why that's important is that gets the bad guys hopefully off the boat before they decide to actually take it. So we're so excited about that. It's so important with all of these GPS tracking thefts. And even in Lighthouse Point up here, 20 boats were hit the last 2 days by people on kayaks taking GPS units out of the boats, which are, as you know, 8,000 to 15,000 apiece. So I'm so adamant and passionate about that. And then something else that we have that's brand new that I love playing with is actually a satellite hotspot. It fits in your hand and it lets up to 8 phones connect to it to make your cell phone an immediate sat phone. And what's so good about that is you can call, you can text, you can surf the internet, and it has an SOS button on it. So you can program, if you hit that button, who's going to know that you have problems right away, whether it be the Coast Guard, your family, with a latitude and longitude, and someone can come and find you if they need to. And it's so much fun to play with it, most of all, but it's another safety piece that fits right on the console. You know, tuck it away in your ditch bag, take it out when you need it. So it's so important. Tracking, safety, get your family home. And that's why we work so very hard at building this business. We have a family of firefighters. We're surrounded by firefighters, and they always say, you know, just keep out there, keep it safe, keep people safe. So I'm very, very excited about all that. And, you know, even we stepped it up a little bit further, Ryan, too, is if there's a named hurricane, we all know that sometimes you have to evacuate and leave your boats, tie them to a tree and hope for the best. We'll even add ourselves to the customer's account and watch to see if that boat moves while they're during a named storm, if they have to leave their home, so that we can see, hey, has the boat moved? And we reach out to them and say, is your boat supposed to be moving? You know, or the boat's okay. It's just an extra eye in the sky. People call me the guardian angel. They call me the eye in the sky. They call me all different things, which I'm thrilled. But I make it a point that every one of those boats are also my boats. So that's why it's, you know, no one takes the extra effort to do these float plans and hurricane plans, dock plans like we do.
I love that idea. That I really like that sat phone. There's just not a lot of good products out there. This one sounds like it might be something that is actually going to work. So that one I might look into myself here in the future.
Yeah, you know, for $500 to buy the hardware and a really nominal monthly service fee that includes unlimited text and you know, and we make no money on any of the services, but to be able to call someone offshore if you have an issue, or hey, we're coming in late, or we ran out of gas, or we just found a good weed line. I mean, we've all have, you know, we all know, you know, I just want to fish that weed line just a little bit longer. So it's a great way to have that in your ditch bag and just decide, okay, great, I got to check in with home. Or what's great is your guest can also just quickly log on and sign on as a guest. Just use that to dial, you know, their loved ones and just say, hey, I'll be a little bit late. So I'll certainly get you info and pictures on that. It's you know, if you want to try one, I'm happy to send you mine. It's just such a low cost item to have with your EPIRB, your ditch bag, your water, your tracker, all of that when you go out for these long days like we all do.
Especially with the popularity of sport fishing, and you're traveling longer distances now. So that's something like this I could see that this one is going to be very popular. So.
And I just want to say too, though, I mean, yes, you started in the boating channel, let's say, but this is like for anybody. So
yeah, it's for anybody. It's like
it is.
It's like
it absolutely is.
The deer, the guy that's hunting the deer in the deer stands right now. I mean, that's like, you're trekking all your way into the woods. You're by yourself.
Yeah.
You're in the stand, and you're not back yet. What happened? There's just so much that happens, and you fall out of the tree. You're late.
You fall out of the tree, but
yeah.
Well, you know what? We've heard it all, and some of these guys will take their trackers. You have the mini tracks, I believe, the little guy that's about 3 inches by 2 inches. I'll usually put one of those in my back pocket when I go skiing, or I'll throw it in my ski jacket when I'm out there. We have about 800 of those same trackers on snow grooming machines. They start coming out for the wintertime, and those guys, 4 guys, go out at nighttime. They have no cell service. They're in the middle of a blizzard. They run those huge snow groomers off a bridge into a lake. Nobody knows where they are. So it's so critical. And you were talking about historical data. The snow groomers, they will pull reports, Ryan, and see how many miles that those groomers have groomed for equipment maintenance. Sometimes they get paid by the state, depending on where they are, for the miles that are groomed. So we've got them in Yellowstone Park. We have them up in the state of Washington. We have them in New York. We've got groomers in Michigan and Canada. And those guys are running nonstop, between December and probably April. How do you find those guys in the middle of night with those crazy blizzards that are dropping 3 feet of snow in nighttime? I mean, it's pretty impossible to do that. So you mentioned deer stands. These guys will take trackers off their boats, put them on their ATVs, and run out and go hunting in Michigan right now, or boar hunting out in the middle of Florida. So these trackers are important in that Sat-Fi hotspot, because you can go out to the sugarcane fields, and even just in Florida, you've got no cell phone service. You go out to Louisiana. I mean, think about going 8 miles offshore, you're out of cell phone service.
Right.
So that little hotspot is a really, we've been working real hard to get that going. I'm hoping in the future it also becomes a tracker for us too. But right now it's, you could connect up to 8 phones at any time, very quickly and easily, and call your loved one. So I'm pretty excited about that. I want to keep adding safety products to the company as we grow.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, before we wrap it up, I just want to ask you, I have my perception from Ryan talking about how awesome you are. But I want to ask more about, what are at least like 3 tips you would give someone when they're starting their business from scratch?
Oh, well, number 1, don't ever let anybody ever tell you can't do it. I had so many people tell me it's a dumb idea. It doesn't make sense. You can't figure it out. You're not a techie. Don't ever let anybody tell you can't do it. Find a product that you believe in or an idea, and just do a little research, see if there's anything like it in the market, and then start getting out there. I started my business with no money. I started doing some social media. I made my own business cards. I walked the docks. But if you feel and you have a passion for something, definitely go for it. In my past, I've lost other businesses. I had a granite manufacturing company that a partner sabotaged. I mean, I lost my home. I lost my vehicles. I lost everything. I had to sleep with a friend's home. And this idea came to me, and I saw a need for it. I knew I could do it better than everybody else. So, don't ever let anyone tell you can't do it. Try and do it better than everybody else, and try and bring something that really benefits people. And I think that's a really good strong basis for a business. Whether it be my tracking business, whether it be good Karma Sportfishing, getting customers out there, whatever it might be, just get out there and really provide a good customer service, and reach out and be a real person. That's what I think really has helped this business, my business. And, I've got friends that work with me. My mother works with me. People want to just be around the positive environment. And, I have a little ladies fishing team. I mean, we have a small group of women that have come together. We fish, we get out there, we share our story about being cancer survivors. We want other people to want to be excited about fishing. So it's spreading the cheer and just getting out there and just never ever telling people that believing that you can't do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
I love it.
I love that.
I love it.
And I hope that, that resonates with some people, because I do believe that sometimes the negativity and, people saying how many percentage of businesses fail and how hard everything is. And if you don't have a following yet, I could definitely speak to that myself. It takes a while. And if you are someone that had a late start, so it's nice to hear, just keep on going and be positive and don't let anyone tell you can't do it. So.
And a person said to me, I will never forget, and it was February 20th, 2016. And that person said to me, let me tell you why you're going to fail. And I love throwing that in that person's face, because I will never forget that statement. And from that point, I was like, there's no way I'm going to prove that person right.
That's awesome.
I can tell you what time it was, February 20th, 2016. Cool. I will never forget. But I do want to get down on a side note. I want to get down and fish with a good Karma fishing team and see if we can raise some fish out there. Yeah,
definitely. We definitely need to see you down here. So Ryan and you can definitely chat that up. I don't tend to go fishing as much as other people probably think I do. It's not very often.
A new product to try. What's really cool, what I think is really cool about the solar, I'll just double back to that for a moment if you don't mind. The solar tracker can be mounted to the outside of a vessel, typically, bigger boats, sport fish, things like that. But what's cool about it is it also can be hardwired, or you can charge it for a couple hours in the sun, then hide it covertly in your boat, and the charge lasts for quite some time. So that's a real fun product to play with, that you're not using any batteries ever. It's a green footprint, so it's not hurting the environment. I have a lot of fun playing with the solar tracker.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, is there anything else you want to add or tell the audience about?
I appreciate you having me on here and spreading the word a little bit. We're a small business, so we don't get out and advertise like a lot of the big boys, but we're there. And if we, even if someone wants to rent a tracker or take one on a long weekend, they don't want to invest in buying one, I'm happy. If I have them here, I will give them to people to take so that they're safe and they can return them anytime they want. So that's really important for folks doing those Bimini runs.
Yeah, that's very awesome. Cool. Very cool of you. Very cool.
Well, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah. How can everyone get hold of you?
Well, the good question. So they can call me anytime, as you know, Ryan, 24/7 at my cell, which is 954-465-3743. And we have a website, which is atlastrax.com. It's ATLASTRAX. You can go see some cool products there. But call me. I'd love to share some screenshots, some maps with everyone. So, again, reach out to me anytime you want.
Awesome. And we will put all of this in our show notes for both of our podcasts. And wow, Carolyn, just love having you on our show. Thank you
oh my gosh,
much.
Thank you so much. And, it's just been great getting to know you over the past since I got the track. And it's just good to know that I can pick up the phone if something is there, that you're there, because it's just so important, especially when you're running a charter business or any type of business with your boat. So it's insurance, and knowing that you're going to pick up the phone and be there.
Yeah.
So absolutely. And you dialed me about a week ago, as a matter of fact, about 7:00 at night. And I made sure I called you right back.
Yeah, you're there. And everybody else that I talk to, you're there for them too.
Yeah.
It's like.
But yeah, everyone, don't be calling her at like 2 a.m. She's got to sleep.
I've gotten phone calls. Let me tell you what, I've gotten fishermen that have called me at like 4 a.m. saying they're taking their boat out and they didn't want to get all the texts and emails during the day when they were fishing. So they've woken me up to take them off of the email alerts, which I'm okay with. So, I'd rather you call me than not call me. So I'm here. I sleep with a phone 24/7. We certainly want to make sure that we're here for folks for safety, theft and safety. That's the main focus of the company. But, thank you for spreading the word. And I am so glad that you had me on tonight.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thanks,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. You guys be safe. Tight lines. I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening. Just to mention the promo, and Ryan and I will both have this in our show notes. If you're interested, this is truly a great product. She is offering $50 off the tracker system and $75 off the alarm system. And if you buy both the alarm and the tracker together, you can get $150 off the total. So check it out. Again, atlastrax.com, ATLASTRAX.com. And Carolyn Stash is who you want to talk to. Have a great one. Thanks for listening. Bye.